we have our regular kind of dozen people here. So I just want to update those who haven't had the chance to follow our very kind of hectic pace, especially on the guild side. We are collaborating pretty intensely. Laurie here and Thomas, I don't know if Kelly's here, let me see. And we are making some progress. Maybe I can quickly share my screen just to update those of you who are not. Everybody's busy, of course, we can't. Okay, so let me know if you can see my screen. Yeah, okay. So we have a few things here that are kind of progressing. We have the white papers. A lot of interesting white papers that I recommend people read. There are some amazing things here. Then we have AI rituals. So what are AI rituals? These are things that we talked about. How do we represent our knowledge? And if we have some knowledge, then it could be represented in more than one way. And the rituals are kind of the things that we keep doing repeatedly, and it's showing results, showing outcomes. And so there are some interesting rituals here that I think people should have a look. And if you have your own that you keep doing over and over and you're finding it works, that would be nice to document. I personally find these things very useful. I go back when I'm working and there's a prompt pattern and examples in practice, as well as what else do we have here? Anyway, I won't bore you too much with that, but that's an interesting area. And then we have started our mission statement. And basically what it is a lot of previous discussions and work was revolving around how do we use AI and LLM to reliably build and release software. But I would like now to assume, just hypothetical, let's pretend that, oh, Kelly's, wait, give me 1 sec to admit people. Come on, admit to guests. I want to admit all. Okay. Kelly and Jake. Okay, so mission statement. We talked about, okay, so let's assume that how we use LLM to build, put it on the side, suppose it's kind of a solved problem, although it's not. But now that we are using it one way or another, the question is, what are we want to build? And that's where if you recall, our guild has 3 pillars. One is technical excellence, which we're pretending that we have licked. The other one is ethical pillar, which is human advocacy. So that this is what Alexander can talk a lot about, that we need to protect the human dimension, the individuals, and not just kind of let this AI rip through the fabric of our society and cause untold damage. So that's a really big focus. And then based on those discussions, the 3rd pillar is innovation, which means we're talking about how do we innovate? What do we have to build so that it really implements or embodies this ethical attitude? And this is what the mission statement is about. It's mostly about being centered and focused on serving individuals rather than serving ideologies or groups or other organizations. So it's more like reclaiming and because this is our technology, we've invented it collectively. This is not something that Santa Claus brought for Christmas or aliens have brought from outer space. So we own it, and we should not just let it go into the hands of people who are interested in just merciless exploitation, taking advantage of our gullibility, of our good nature, our kindness, and ripping us off. I sound paranoid, but we talked a lot about that, and it's some people assure me that no, you're not over dramatizing. I hope I'm not. So another thing I want to show, we have also, and especially Nicholas was asking us to put our words into action. So bias for action, and this is something that Woody has taught us in his teaming and programming, that rather than endless deliberation, equivocations, and discussions, we try to prove something by doing things rather than discussing. And so Thomas here has proposed, which I really like, showcasing. What can we showcase? Let's say the community, somebody in the community is like, well, what are you guys all about? And we can talk to a blue face, but showcase would be something that we should be able to perform and show. So Thomas came up with the Guild mob programming session, and there's a very elaborate, and hats off to you, Thomas, this is amazing. We can organize this and we can cut it and we can record it and we can show in action how elite guild members and other engineers are using AI and LLM to reliably build and release software. We are trying to prove that. And then the last thing I want to show before we go open the floor is the flywheel, which is between Kelly and Thomas, the flywheel of the guild. And there's a lot of details here. We can read about it. But these are very exciting. And again, there's other things that I want to show. We have started Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame, our charter, our code of conduct, the members, etc. So enough of me talking. I want to open the floor to what people want to discuss today. I just want to give you a quick overview of where we are at. That we are very busy. People are generously devoting their time, and I'm amazed at the talent and at the effort and the. I think everybody's heart is in the right place. We really want to use this. First of all, make sure we don't incur any damage. We prevent damage if we can do that. And secondly, can we improve things? Can we offer some something useful, something that people can start using? And it's still up in the early stages, but I'm hot on this innovation idea. So does anyone have any comments, or do you want to talk about anything else? That's Graham, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I really like the approach of AI rituals, and I say that partly because it's something I've been working on myself. I'm going to drop a link into the chat in a second, which is to a collection of interaction patterns for AI augmented software development that I've been working on. And I think that while I've lent very heavily into the kind of pattern language framework from Christopher Alexander, and then specifically basically ripped off the Gang of Four design patterns, information architecture, we're doing the same thing. We're kind of talking about what is it that we have learned about using these tools, and how do we get you to kind of also have that knowledge and to be able to apply that knowledge, and also to understand what you now need to understand, given that we have told you how to do this thing. What problems have we unlocked for you? What other design constraints you need to think about? It's I think that leading into that And then like taking alongside it the ethical angle, like what are these AI rituals for? They should be to empower people themselves and to like empower people to empower humanity. And like that should be the overall goal here, is to kind of use this tool as what Steve Jobs used to say, like bicycles for the mind. Like we've now got motorbikes or rocket ships. Woody used the phrase rocket ship on a call earlier today. Like, how do we make sure that like that is the outcome here? Not like I saw a paper from DeepMind where they're talking about delegation techniques. So they invented a delegation framework where a human could delegate a work to an agent could delegate to another agent, or an agent could delegate to a human. So now we've got AI agents as independent economic actors who are like, farming their work out to humans. Is that really the world we want to create? But yeah, my kind of fundamental point is that like rituals is a really important one to push in on or push forward on.
Thank you, Graham. So I apologize, I didn't have the chance to go over your patterns. Do you think there's a way to amalgamate those, or are they kind of separate areas? Rituals and your...
No, I think there's a lot of overlap. My patterns catalog is all Creative Commons license, so like we can just kind of take it and like and remix it and share it, make it part of the rituals repository. That might be the best thing to do. But like just the kind of higher level principle of showing people what the design language is and then how to apply it themselves is a really important way. It's basically like kind of helping people tell stories to each other about experiences, and and like storytelling is the way that we communicate knowledge, share it, and distribute it throughout a society.
Yeah, I just want to quickly mention that when we discussed about these rituals, the idea was that they should be not superstitious, but repeatable. So they yield result. It's not just like some incantation that you song and dance and you hope it's going to rain. No, you should be able to run them and kind of reliably see that, yes, this is working the way I expected it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like the scientific method is itself a ritual, and and perhaps what it belongs in this catalog, right? Like when you make changes to your prompt, keep everything else constant, keep the model constant, keep the context constant, keep the system prompt constant, see what the effect is of changing the prompt. If it doesn't work, back out and try something else. That is a ritual that we would apply and we would go through.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much, Graham. Over to you, Kelly.
Hey everybody. I just was listening and I was thinking back about the article that they put out from Claude this in January about how Boris was talking about how his team works together, and basically, they're creating this they use their Claude MD form for this, but we could build a different style repository, way of holding that information. But all of these rituals and all of these things are handy. And you can pull the ones that you want and put them in your own IDE or whatever, VS Code or whatever you're working in. But the other day I kind of had this interesting epiphany on just, okay, so I work in Windsurf. I've got quite a lot of stuff set up in there. And then when I use my Claude CLI within Windsurf, everything is like good. It knows exactly where I left off. It doesn't screw up things in the way it's just like it's where it's my happy little environment. And then I can pull the agents that I know are already in there just by asking for them. But yesterday I had to go use I was out of the house and I had done a deployment that screwed a bunch of stuff up. So then I was like, oh crap, this is broken, let me go fix that. And I went in, I didn't have access to Windsurf. So I just thought, let me go into this Git code space and try it out, because I know I can use Claude in there. They gave me a free trial. So I'm like, okay, hey, I can do it. I'm in my repo, like I'm in the code space of the repo itself in Git. I should be able to just fix these minor issues, right? And oh my God, it was a nightmare. Like it just kept looking at my repo that it was in over and over and trying to, it was just so confused, right? So then I realized that there's got to be a way for us to use, because the AI rituals are these minute parts of what ends up becoming your whole entire workflow that you know how to access and do what it, when it needs to do what it needs to do. So that's just my 2 cents. So what Claude and Anthropic's team does is they collectively have these, like repositories that they're constantly adding to and updating, and so everybody's responsible for maintaining it. But then there's this like mob AI ritual that's more easily accessible organizational ways, because I definitely think the team with our own brains, then we have our own tools, and then we're using those in a collaborative process. I was saying this to Alex, like if you think about like Anthropic's team or any of these other teams, we basically are a team like that now. We have that collective power. We might not have the NVIDIA, millions of dollars in data centers, but we do have a lot of similarities in the way that we can approach and move collectively in a real powerful way that I don't think is, it's just a new frontier, right? So of individuals working for individuals collectively, though, as to meet that power structure that we're going to have, we're all just little peons compared to Anthropic, right? So anyways, that's all.
Great, Kelly, thanks. So are you suggesting now that we, people are going to laugh, that we introduce ceremonies, which would be like bundling several rituals into a ceremony, or am I way off?
I mean, that's an interesting way of saying it. Like, it's funny because we're like anti-worship, we're anti sort of anthropomorphizing AI, right? But we're calling it rituals and ceremonies. But I mean, I think that's the tongue-in-cheek part, though. And I think if we understand what that means, I do think that there is some way that we can do these, like, so like you go to a ceremony and everybody's there and they all brought their own wisdom, and then you like have a powwow, and then you all leave with that, but it applies to you in the way that you needed it to apply. So, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's like, Native American knowledge, you go in there. Anyway, that's all.
But Kelly, it's not, ceremonies and rituals are not about AI, it's about us. We are talking about us, how we
totally, yeah,
collaborate and how we approach it. It is what it is, right? And the frustrating thing is it is a moving target. But it is what it is. But I like what you said, that we can also have a grassroots powwow, like power, working from the goodness of our hearts, and we. I'm just enjoying this guild so much. There's so many beautiful people who really honestly are not interested in self-promotion or in some self-aggrandizing endeavor, but really we want to see this thing go in the right direction. And as I spoke with many of you one-on-one, it's just a great experience. Laurie has Kelly, have you finished? You still have your hand up.
Sorry, yeah.
Laurie?
I'll take it down.
Laurie? Okay, Laurie, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Alex. I'd like to comment on what Kelly said. I completely agree with her. We just came together, in a kind of a very. We discovered each other on LinkedIn, of all places, or maybe on some other places for some other members. Not gonna name names. And it formed organically, which is great. So it's a grassroots movement that has now moved into 2 months now already, Alex, right? Well, 9 sessions for, what is this one session? Anyway, so I agree that we do have the expertise amongst many members here, all of the members with all of their contributions. We not only have expertise, we have experience, and we have taste. We have judgment. I mean, Woody illuminates my life when he talks in these discussions. And this brings me to my second point about, I think it's a good idea to propose ceremonies. Any disciplined team have ceremonies. We don't have to follow Scrum or anything, but we can develop our own ceremonies that are unique to the guild. And I think really something that would be very positive with these cadenced ceremony style workflow or a plan for to be disciplined and to be to show up is to not only talk and discuss, but to do and show. And there, when you see that it is happening, you can talk and claim. Anyone can do that, and they can write papers about claims and pronounce or proclaim, go on LinkedIn and Twitter saying that their agent can do all of this. But the proof is in the pudding to see. So I would advocate for not only talking and discussing and then claiming. This is not our manifesto. It's not our ethos. We use Popperian falsifiability, I believe, to truly be able to distinguish what is fiction and what is real. And one way to also demonstrate that is by showing and getting feedback. For example, yesterday I showed Grip my system a bit. Not that I'm shilling. This is not a marketing show. I open sourced a subset of it in an Electron app that's currently only on Mac, but in any case, that one can get the sense of how it works. And a few hours after that, Kelly submitted a pull request with documentation about how to enhance this or that and that system, which is amazing. So just in a few hours after our meeting last night, Jake, Kelly, and I, and Gary, I shared a bit more about the system, and it was very interesting because there were many parallels that were evident, seen, witnessed by the experts we have here building those systems. We are, as the zeitgeist tends to go, we have organically formed, and we are also doing similar things with the core layers of this technology. So now is the time to really contribute and share knowledge. Yeah, because we have the possibility to perhaps 6 to 12 months earlier than predicted, get to a point where we can show the public we have the technology, not only claims.
Yeah, thank you, Laurie. And I would just emphasize again, what's exciting is this is a group of doers. And we have Thomas here, who is a chief doer officer. This guy's just doing things. It's amazing. Like we could be having a chat, and within, even while we're chatting, Thomas is already doing things and making things. And then we just go and implement it. Because as you know, I don't know if you remember, Kent Beck was once in our roundtable, and he said that he sees this technology as exoskeleton, where he's doing exactly what he's always been doing. But now he has this, like, to the power of hundreds, heavy lifting, doing all these things. That is very inspiring to me, and that is what I say, democratization of technology. There are no more moats. There are no more have and have-nots over here are people who have means of production, and over there are people who are just worker bees, and they're happy to be given a job. I think those days are on their last legs. Although, you know, it comes with a huge risk and huge peril, of course, but it is what it is. The technology is unstoppable. The exoskeleton, I think, is here, and we've seen that in practice, the way what Kelly's doing, and Laurie and Thomas and other people. Over to you, Woody.
So just a couple things I want to bring up. First of all, Laurie, you making me feel awfully humbled, and I appreciate your observations. But boy, I feel like such an imposter, you know, with imposter syndrome style stuff in a group here like this. First of all, I want to just make a slight mention from noting on a couple things Laurie said, and that's already been being said here. First of all, you know, Bjarte Buchnes is part of the Beyond Budgeting proponent, you know, of the different way of thinking about how business is done on the financial side of things. And one of the things he talks about is he calls the ambition to action. So I think that, Laurie, you are bringing that up, that idea that we can talk about things all day long, but we need to actually do things. And I like doing things in a group. This is a powerful thing. And then another thing, you know, working together, AI is giving us the ability to have more, that we could be more accessible to each other and more available to each other. So bringing this to the ceremonies, I would just say we need a higher level principle about ceremonies, and that is that nothing's carved in stone. You know, that any ceremony we decide to try should be thought of as a candidate ceremony. It never becomes an official ceremony. It's always, here's something we could try. Every process, everything we do has to be open to add things to it, to remove things from it, to change things, to improve things. So often what happens, and I've seen this, you know, somebody mentioned Scrum earlier, in a space like Scrum, people would argue, you know, you're not doing it by the book, so, you know, you're not doing the right thing. And of course, the originators of Scrum, at least the few that I had more than just a casual conversation with, were saying things to me like, you know, if you're doing things like I'm saying 6 months from now, you didn't understand this at all. That this is about continuous improvement and continuous change. So if you say, well, here's the rules, I'm just waiting for the next new rule change to come down from on high, and then I'll follow those rules, you know, that just doesn't make any sense. So maybe you have to take the attitude, maybe there's a high level principle here, but, you know, we are the innovators. Whoever shows up is the innovators. It's not we're the followers following some prescribed list that somebody else made. This is how you do it. Go through these steps. I know you all know this already, but I think we need to be careful when we're devising things like this to have an encompassing principle above many of the other things about how this has to be adaptable. It has to be, and this goes with the way we work. If you're doing the same things with working with AI that you did 2 or 3 years ago, you could easily see that's not, you know, we've already progressed beyond. Somebody wrote, and I read somewhere, you know, that whatever we're doing with AI right now, it's the worst version we're ever going to work with going forward. Whatever this stuff is, we're at the worst version, not at the best version. Nothing's locked in. Nothing will ever be locked in. You know, and to finish that, maybe whole thought is, you know, in the design of automobiles, is somebody along the way said, look, every car has different brakes. We should just all standardize. Let's say this was 1952. Let's all standardize on this brake, and everybody will use this brake system in their car. Well, we can never get other improvements. You know, you couldn't get a more powerful engine. You couldn't get, you couldn't get better handling. You can't get anything if you lock something in, because it's all a system. And therefore, we can say we need to have constraints, but the constraints should be, not that limiting. We should be liberating, not limiting. Yeah, something like that. That may be all I'll have today. I appreciate this group too much, but there is so much to ingest in these gatherings.
That's a great point, Woody. Thank you. I think you already explained to me. I was wrong. At one point, I mentioned how I was upset that let's take the USB cable example where I have
Right.
15,000 versions, and I'm looking at the European market and they put kibosh on Apple. Say no, but that's a chokehold, right? It's choking them, right? So we gotta, it comes at a price. Yes, it's a chaos, semi-chaos with these cables, but it's enabling us to progress rather than if we got stuck in 2006 and that's it. And today will be a very primitive state. So it's a brilliant example. I thank you so much for opening my eyes for that. I was very kind of
You mean the USB cable example?
Yeah, because I was always like, oh, I'm so upset. Why don't we do it in a more civilized way? But I was missing that dimension of, you gotta pay the price. You gotta be open, out of pocket. Yes, I'm hit on the pocket, but at that price comes with progress, and you gotta suck it up and agree to a little bit of chaos in the market that will push things forward. And probably same applies to AI. Like you say, we cannot harden our stances. Okay, this is how you do things, and this is the ritual, and shut up. It has to be flexible for sure. Thank you very much, Woody. Alex, please, over to you.
Yes, I've been listening to you, and the thing that came up to my mind is, I think 2 sessions ago, at the end, I was talking about the incentive systems around AI right now. And there are very problematic incentive systems. And if I hear the word ceremony, what my brain puts out as a first thing is one ceremony should be deliberately slowed down. Because even before AI, we were going too fast. Like Uncle Bob once said, if you want to go somewhere that is a good place, you need to become slower, not faster, not more features in a manic speed to put out, but to really get the foundations right, get the basics right, really think hard, and then go to the keyboard, which of course now might be an agent or whatever, and then go for some solution. And the incentive systems right now always scream at us and say, speed up, because now we have a tool that speeds up very, very fast. And I remember also one sentence from a book I once read by Eric Carr, and that's a book about network technologies, from Edison to Google. So where do we come from, and where have we been progressing? It was around 2008 or something. Our boss put it on our tables. Every employee got that book, and in the afterword, there was one sentence that will never leave me again. Technological progress is like steps in the snow. You turn around and you don't know where you come from. We are at a crucial point in time right now. We will not be seeing where we will be coming from when in a few years, like the point that he makes, there was one point in time where the last person left this planet who didn't know how it was without electric light. So the last person left. Everyone here in this session has no idea how it is when there's no electricity and no light. It worked before, but right now it's simply unimaginable. So there are crucial questions to be solved, and the ceremony stuff is a really crucial thing in relation to that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Alex. Ceremony may be a good starting point for us to take a deep breath, look around, deliberate, what's the saying? Measure twice, cut once, etc. Over to you, Matt.
Thanks, Alex. Hey, folks. Good morning. I just want to really underline and acknowledge what Alexander's talking about in terms of the tension between what I think a lot of us see as not just the inevitability of AI. I think we can all agree it's not going anywhere, But I think the big question mark is, what is this going to mean for the way we work? What is this going to mean for knowledge work as a whole, as an idea? It's my opinion that I guess what we would consider an AI native flow, where the pipeline from the decision makers at the VP level, coming up with the business use cases, coming up with the justifications for what we're ultimately building at the bottom of the funnel. Traditionally, that takes weeks. Working for a large organization, I've worked for companies of all sizes. I've never worked for like the giant ones, but 800 employees or so. And the VP layer comes up with, this is what we want to achieve, and then it goes down to whoever's in charge of product, and then they flesh it out, come up with the business use cases. They work with design, and then eventually a PM and me, that I did for years and years and years, would work together and build out this feature or product or app or whatever it is that we're building. It would take a couple months. Well, I think what we're seeing is you have these devs that are, getting their heads around and their workflows around an AI-enabled workflow, but no one upstream has done that yet. And I think one inevitability is that organizations, in order to compete, the people that are making the decisions about what we're going to do and how fast we're going to do it, those are out of our hands. Those are in the hands of, unless we're independently wealthy enough to be able to work on what we want when we want, we are beholden to if we want to pay the bills and work and have a job. And love it or lump it, I think that is the reality of the workforce that we are going to be looking at, especially in the later parts of 2026. So to sum up, I recognize the tension of the incredible importance of, as humans, us not feeling like the only change in our lives is now we have to produce 3 times more than we did before. And it's still this boiler room of stress. No one wants that. That's not the goal we're going for here. But the tension of eventually that pipeline, all the way from VP to product to design to engineering, that is going to be accelerated by AI, because that's going to be a requirement for companies to compete, for most of them, not all of them. But I don't think you're going to be able to have one company that's like, hey, we do everything slower here, and all of their competitors going, and more isn't always better. But I don't know how we come to that nice balance of accepting the inevitability of an AI native workflow that is naturally going to increase the pace of decisions and work and everything else, with Alexander's good point of, how do we keep that from spinning completely out of control with what little influence we as employees have over the overall flow of things. So that's it from me.
Thanks, Matt. So quick question. And I may be completely wrong on this, but in working with CEOs and these people, like you say, the higher-ups who have expectations, I'll give you one anecdote. I worked on a project where they were building digital widgets. Design firm selling digital widgets, whatever that means, from greeting cards, etc. And so the CEO calls me into his office and says, like, Alex, I want to talk to you about one problem. And I'm like, what is it? He says, see, over here, I have this department, the whole floor of designers. And these people are designing fancy, eye-catching, eye-candy things. And they're, doing good job. And over here, I have this department of software developers who are to build, the pipelines and everything, and publish that and take orders and ship, etc., fulfillment. So how come on the design side, I can give you exact prediction as to how many widgets this week are we going to be ready to ship? But how come over there I have no freaking idea? I cannot predict anything. So my takeaway from that is, like, he was not interested in speed. He was interested in predictability. Even if it's slow as molasses, but I need to know what can we predict to be delivered. And I'm not asking for some super duper astronomical speeds, but I'm just lost here. And I feel like I'm running my business in the dark. And that is my takeaway from these higher ups, that they feel like they're completely based on faith, on like, it's a superstitious level of running the business, and that's what's bothering them. And so now the question is, do you think this AI native can offer a bit more predictability, or is it just about blind speed and just shoving things out? What's your opinion, Matt?
Well, so if it's all about just blind speed, then we've failed. I mean, a human first approach to all of this is that AI enables us to live better, more rich lives. Ultimately, I mean, that's the number one job of it. But a part of leading a better and rich life means you can feed yourself and pay the rent. That's a big part. It's not just about what you do in the workforce. It's about how the rest of your life looks. And if you are, if all of the rest of your life is falling apart because then it's going to impact that goal of ours. So yeah, I guess I don't have a great answer, but I think that's okay. No, the idea and the point is that as AI becomes more embedded into the PDE, product design and engineering pipeline, which I think is going to be inevitable, whether we like it or not, it's going to happen, is it must be predictable, and it must be aligned with a healthy overall lifestyle for human beings, where we can achieve both of those. I think those are both the goals.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I really appreciate your feedback, because indeed, the reason that that particular example, that people are feeling a bit not at their best, maybe a bit miserable, is because on one hand, the higher ups their quality of life is eroding because they just cannot predict how the business is going to move. So they feel bad about it. And then the people who are actually doing the work are also feeling bad because due to the lack of predictability, now you have middle managers unleashed, breathing down their necks and just whipping the ponies harder, and just meaningless situation, which is all caused by this lack of predictability. And if I'm to hypothesize and imagine the world where all of a sudden the software guys can be operating at the same level of predictability as the designer guys, then everybody decompresses, and the boss is happy, the workers are happy, and they're just dragging along the natural humane order of how we work. We enjoy our jobs, and everything's cool. To your point, quality of life goes up. So again, I'm just questioning whether we can use AI to help us get to that point where we can indeed deliver so that the bosses. I've noticed that if I set my team so that they can deliver at a regular pace, doesn't have to be anything you write home about, but it's like every week or whatever, every time period, something's being done. Then everybody kind of decompresses, and the quality, the job satisfaction improves. That's my personal experience from the field. And so the question here that you brought up, which is a great question, is this AI native flow or practice going to help us get there? Thank you very much, Matt. So over to you, Grigori.
Hi. So I raised my hand after hearing the slow and fast comparisons, and I think we kind of missing the point. Everyone so focused on superficial things that we thinking about software that it can be delivered faster and slower. It's sole dimensions that we're looking at, but it's implied. But it's been said so long ago that software have to be correct. And this is more important, but to be correct, you have to need to have correct specification. Everyone who is doing implementation have to have a correct understanding of this specification. And it's another point to agree. What does it mean to be correct? Is it performant enough? Is it stable enough? Does it handle I don't know exception situation well? And we, I believe, losing this understanding, what is the end goal, what is the correct end result to a point that accelerating in a like random direction not gonna help us. And AI landed in a like quite a bad time-wise spot when we already lost direction. And I have like huge gripe, for example, with TypeScript. So somehow JavaScript invaded like server side. People tried to patch it up with like types to make sure like to improve correctness of it. But the superficial speed of script development gives a like nice feeling for people who like praying for faster. Give me stuff faster, because it's a like ultimate tool to cut corners. And now when like in general software engineering is like in a spot where we for a while ignoring correctness in favor of speed, AI landed and it allows us like to accelerate even more. And we're driving way past like correctness, way past of useful result. Because I think like AI is a great tool. It's gonna save us like could have saved us a lot of time, could have saved us a lot of effort. But we now like sitting in a car that like barely handles, but we like focused on accelerating. Like it needs to get like more powerful. We need to go like faster. But like if you cannot handle, like you're gonna crash. And that's my worry. And I think like that we as a guild have to like point world towards to is that like we are fast enough. Let's focus on like how to make it correct. And the AI can do this too. So for example, like I started like a small project with F# where like it's much more strict, for example, than Python, and have like vastly different experience. So AI gave like guide rails, and then it stumbled like a lot of them, but like overall experience was more positive. It was more consistent. I don't need to reset my context window, but like it was like slight deviation like towards correctness, like not using AI like to move faster, but to achieve more precise like outcome. And I think like instead of saying like slow and fast, we should like expand our view at AI, like not just like accelerator of like speed, but accelerator of correctness and like maintainability. And like we need to like focus on it more, because now we have capacity to dedicate extra efforts toward non-functional requirements like maintenance and so on. And we should like not slow down in terms of we want to go slower. We have to allocate our speed in a different direction. We have like to think about like what we can do with this like extra speed that AI allowed us, rather than just like producing like more code faster, delivering features like and like into hours instead of a week. But like we have a better application of AI than today, but I believe it's largely ignored. And I think like it's our job to like point back on track, like or a better track for AI. Yeah.
Thank you, Gregory. So what's your definition of correctness?
It's a kind of circular question. Correctness implies that like to give definition of correctness, I have to be correct without first defining it. So
no, you can just give a definition.
it's so correctness is like whatever we
Brad says fit for purpose. Bravo, Brad. Like
no, it's whatever we want something to be, for as long as we know what we want it to be, if it makes sense. So for example, like correctness for like a house doesn't have like a universal definition. So correctness of a house is like my house should have like this many, I don't know, like bedrooms, roof, it should have like this big of a basement, should have heating and so on. Like if you move to another place, then like correctness for a house would be different. But like correctness implies clear goal of whatever you are building first, and then it should fit this goal. So like yeah, it's fit for purpose. Probably is that like a good concise way to say it.
Yeah.
But like purpose again, like you need like for what purpose? And say like, so correctness only exists in a subjective space where you have a clear goal.
Excellent. So Thank you very much. So Alan Cooper, I don't know if you heard of Alan Cooper. Brilliant guy. I read all his books and I just love the guy. So he said, let's say somebody gives you spec. It says, I want you to build me an object that has 4 rubber wheels, has metal chassis, has some kind of an engine, has a steering wheel with the seat for the driver. Okay, you're cool with that? Yeah. You go away. What would you build?
I would build, so I would ask for purpose, like what it's supposed to do. Yeah.
But if you go, the problem is you could be correct. You're going down the laundry list and you're adding 4 tires and you're adding the engine and steering wheel and brakes and etc. But you may be in the end incorrect. And so you touched on a really important aspect, which is goal oriented. Because Alan Cooper then says, but if instead of telling you that, the person who is paying you tells you, I want you to build me a ride-on lawn mower. Totally, now you are much less prone to make a mistake what you're going to deliver. Yes, it's rubber wheels, but it's cutting the lawn.
It's still not enough. So like purpose like should have also a constraint, because like this mower, like I look like at my backyard and make it like as small and agile as possible. Like don't have a big backyard, but like if you look at an acreage, you probably are thinking about like, okay, like the like mower part should be like 2 meters wide, otherwise it will take forever to mow. So like it should be even not like build me a lawn mower. Is like I want this lawn to be mowed, and my constraints is like within this time, and I don't want to spend like this much time. So like basically you give end result, give constraint, and now you can have something that is correct for a particular purpose, because even lawnmower implies like a lot of assumption, like I have to assume like how comfortable should be seat, like how big should it be. So like a lot of questions that like I can answer myself, but it doesn't mean they're correct from your standpoint. And with AI, we're not saying what we want from it, and like okay, like it's easy to see that it allows you to move faster. Like, do you want to move faster? Like, how fast you want to move? Why do you want to move faster? Like, that's a question that we need like to step back and ask before we say like we will apply AI to generate code. Like, that's probably not the best. And I'm pretty sure that's not the best idea, because we multiple times, even in this guild, it was mentioned that like writing code wasn't a problem for a long time. It's like a small part of development.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And indeed, work backwards from the goal backwards. First, state your goal as in any articulate way you can. And the more articulate you are, the less chance is that it will be astray. But there's another, I think, level of correctness, which is how you're going to build it, now that you know what you're building. And Kent Beck introduced something I really appreciate. He calls it permaculture by succession, in which he describes how we are in software, we are progressing by delivering designs that are throwaway designs, just for the time being, and we do it intentionally. We know it's going to be a throwaway because we are. And I don't want to bore you with that, but it's a brilliant way to build software. Which and again, I really appreciate you bringing this up, and it's a very important topic. But we don't want to turn this into a long session, so I need to pass over it. But thank you very much, Grigori. Over to you, Alex.
Yes, I want to share with you one thing that when I did my sports last weekend, we're talking not, of course, about speed. We're always talking about reliability and having a thing that runs our civilization that is not breaking on first contact with the enemy. So slowness implies finding the time to have any chance for correctness. That's the point that I want to make with being slow. Or slow is not the point, not the speed, but of course the correctness and the stability. And last weekend when I did my sports, I had something, it felt a bit for me personally like an epiphany, because back in the days we had refactoring as a tool in order to regain our mental models. and we seldomly used that one consequently. We always sped up because time was running out or whatever. Now with AI, we have a new tool with which the mental model might go out of the window from the first second on. And my fear is that we will use it too often in such a way, especially when time is running out. So the problems of the old world, not using refactoring, not baking quality in, was already, it has been a problem, and it is still, of course, a problem, because the old way of programming is still there, somewhere there, plus AI. And if we shift from not using refactoring in order to have a mental model towards not have any mental model in the first place, the problems will be aggravated. And it has nothing to do with speed, but with sheer correctness going out of the window, possibly, without us even realizing. And if the phone rings at 2 o'clock at night and you don't have a mental model, I have no idea how you can act quickly then. And one telephone will be your boss, the other one will be the customer. So then there's stress in your system. Your cognition even goes down, not up. So that was something that I brought from my morning jog on Sunday, and it was not a good feeling.
So whatever we're doing wrong right now, we will be able to do it much faster and then to a greater extent with AI. Is it a summary, Alex?
Not sure. Please repeat. Not sure what you meant.
Whatever we're doing wrong right now in software engineering, AI will allow us to do it like much faster and to a greater extent.
Good wording. It might allow us to. We need some discipline. We need to pin down which will be the way to go forward. It might. That's the correct wording, I would say.
Yeah, and that's why I really wholeheartedly recommend checking out Kent Beck's Permaculture by Succession, which is deliberate, slow, small steps with verification and not rushing ahead and taking giant steps and saying, oh yeah, sure, just let the agents go and just build everything. And then, like you say, 2 a.m. call. I have no idea what this thing is all about. And yeah, so that's great example. Thank you very much for underlying that, Alex. And again, I think you completely supported Grigori's narrative on correctness and goal-oriented. And now over to Graham.
So both like Alex and Matt, and to some extent like Grigory in his discussion of quality and correctness, brought up the idea of the kind of like the customer engineer dynamic or the manager engineer dynamic. Yeah, and sort of Matt's point was like, yeah, we're going to have the like manager like, kind of busting our asses to get stuff done quicker, and Alex's point was to have the manager and the customer both on the phone, like trying to get us to do this. I hope that one of the things that we achieve is to change the relationship, because the manager engineer relationship is already broken in many organizations. It's already based on someone without knowledge of the domain telling someone who does have knowledge of the domain what they're supposed to be doing, when it should be the other way around. And you know, I will firmly pin some of the blame for this on the wording of the Agile Manifesto, which has business people and technical people as two separate classes of humanity, as like, you know, two separate castes who are supposed to collaborate and work together, but nonetheless, you know, are like distinct. We now have tools that give every, you know, what if you're like a hateful person you would call a non-technical employee, they all now have a mediocre amount of technical knowledge available to them at their fingertips. If you are a technical person and you would get your dick fingers out and call yourself a non-business person, you now have a mediocre amount of technical knowledge at your fingertips. We can use this to provide better collaboration mechanisms and a better shared understanding, and build more collaborative and less combative ways of working. We don't need to stick with the like employer, capitalist, working class, whether you're Marxist, Weberian, Friedman-esque, whatever your view is. We don't need to keep the idea that these are two separate roles that are not allowed to overlap, where one of their jobs is to exploit the other, and the other person's job is to like get their rent paid by being exploited.
Yeah, that's I mean, you're right. This kind of divide is only harmful for the organization. And Thomas here said that how many agents can you manage simultaneously? But Tim Ottinger, who's busy, I mean, for him it's too early. Me, that it's like a relay race, and so the relay race where you're passing the baton, and he says, me as a manager, I'm keeping an eye on the baton, not on the racers. I let them figure it out. So long as I see the baton is moving at the acceptable click, I'm cool. If it starts slowing down or stops moving, then I intervene. So it's not about micromanaging, right? It's about creating this environment where the racers are free to self-organize and figure out how they're going to participate in this race, who's sitting on the bench taking a breath, or who's running with all their might, etc. So maybe similarly we can look at this agentic, but I don't know. So time to move to Shoaib. Hi, and welcome. I don't remember, have you been roundtables?
Yeah, hi. I have been to, I guess, the third roundtable discussion.
Yeah, I remember now. Thank you.
Yeah, so, yeah, the Ramadan month was going on, so I had to skip a few. But yeah, so I intend to do it regularly. Yeah, so it's just the first time I'll be speaking, so pardon me for that. So basically, I wanted to speak on the correctness part, which Georgie again mentioned about. I had a discussion with my branded about the same thing. Basically, I was talking about the same. We are talking about having a 4x, 2x, 3x, or 5x of efficiency with provision to Copilot, and they are expecting developers to deliver stuff faster. I had a discussion again. We had and my intent or my idea was like, no matter how much, whatever tool we have, we can write code faster. That can just take away the job of writing code, but the purpose is correctness. So are we going to compromise the correctness of our software for the speed? So the answer which I received was like, I was not able to counter that part. So the answer which I got was, when the industrial revolution came, when machines started replacing humans in most of the mechanical and automotive industries, we were also they also faced a similar set of problem when machines were building a lot of stuff, and for the validation part, they also had things validating the built parts. And on similar lines, I also told the same thing, like if we are building at 2x speed or maybe 4x or 5x speed, we would need that much amount of QA, the testing required for that software, because anyway, whatever code we are writing at this point of time, it still needs 2x of testing, because it's not written by humans, it is written by AI. So it is prone to error, and we cannot we cannot rely on its correctness. So if we are talking about 5x efficiency, that means you need 10x of testing on that part. That's like a random, just a simple math I did. It may not stand true in most of the cases, but the overall intent is the amount of deliveries you are doing. I'm not talking in terms of code or number of lines of code which we end up writing. So we don't judge a software by number of lines, but what value it is bringing to the table or what feature it has. So on that lines, the idea is AI will again write the test for the code which has been generated. So my point is, like, we give the requirement, it is writing the unit test, and in the unit test, whatever unit test AI writes, most of the time it mocks so many things, like it tries to give an illusion that the code which you are running, it is passing. Okay, and most of the time, if you see in case of Java, it passes everything as any string, a string of any, or maybe sometimes it does pass null and somehow tries to make the test pass, and it fails miserably if I try to write an end-to-end integration test or ask AI to cover all the parts, like have a caching layer or the DB and all of the stuff, like do it with Kafka and S3. It fails at that point, and it needs a lot of input. So the main intent is, though we are like looking for, everybody is looking for speed now, like that they just feel like the leadership feels like they have a magic wand and you can just build anything. So it's kind of interesting stuff going on, and when the way we see it is like, if we are talking about trying to talk some sense, and you are being like kind of shut down as like you're not adapting to the AI or the AI world, and then you are kind of falling behind. So yeah,
okay. Yeah, okay. So we're also talking about some bottlenecks that AI introduces into the process, or just concerned about how flaky it might be.
Yeah, the flakiness. I was
Flakiness.
trying to it's about the flakiness, and maybe we right now we don't see the bottlenecks, because all we can see is the amount of code it is generating, and even the PR reviews nowadays we are seeing like the lax behavior in PR reviews as well, because earlier. For a normal 5 or 8 pointer story, we used to have 5 or 10 files of PR, but AI ends up creating a PR of maybe 20 files, and it's standard developer behavior. Anything less than 10 files, we review it thoroughly. If it is more than 10 files, we tend to like just speed up the review process and miss it. And with AI, that missing part is just increasing.
Gotcha. Okay, so looks like we are back again to how are we building things. Can we? Okay, so next is Michael, but can we start talking a little bit about what are we going to build with this newly found exoskeleton power tool? But anyway, over to you, Michael.
Yeah.
So I'm still frustrated by the abstractness of most of these conversations. Let me try an analogy. So I crafted this thing called the Reliable Software Rubric Guild thing, and I used the analogy of masons, of bricklayers. And I think if we think of these AI agents, and I've recently moved from ChatGPT to Claude, you need to think of them on a scale. At the bottom, there's an apprentice mason. And at the top, there is a master mason. And there's all kinds of masons in between with different specialties, different levels of experience, working in their domain as well as working with you. And you are also on that scale. You might come into this as an apprentice mason in a particular domain of software. You might be a master mason in a particular domain of software. And as a pair, you need to find the synergy. There needs to be recognition that you're a master mason working with an apprentice mason. Or you need to be a middle of the road mason working with a peer middle of the road mason. And I'm achieving absolutely phenomenal results across a huge number of domains because I have that attitude that the AI chatbot is my partner. I put link 1 and link 2 into there. I've gotten to the point where I'm generating an IETF draft specification almost every day. And this specific example, link 1, is just a plain old GitHub discussion about a particular aspect of verifiable credentials and representing relationships and groups using verifiable credentials. And you know how GitHub discussions go. They're a little bit random and everybody has their side. And yesterday I said to my Claude, read this discussion and generate an IETF draft specification. Nothing more than that. And yes, I iterated about 6 or 8 times. And at the end, it generates an IETF upload compatible XML file and tells me, to go to the doc tracker website and how to upload it. I run it through indent, which is like their lexicographic syntax checker. There, I copy and paste the 2 or 3 warnings and errors back into Claude. It generates a new XML file for me. And within the space of an hour, I have generated a very high quality internet RFC draft from a GitHub discussion. So that is just a test case. That's an example, an illustration. I'm going to close by just coming back to my original message. You got to think of these things as a partner and not something that's abstract and over there to be challenged and conquered. Think of it as starting out as an apprentice mason who you have a responsibility to bring along. And I'm not going to use the word train, but you're gonna bring that along. And they have an immense capability for understanding who you are and how you like to work. Every day now, because I have my Web 7 project and decentralized data, it's always looping back to the past history I have. That was one of the things I'm going to lose actually going from ChatGPT to Claude, is Claude doesn't have all my history. So I still use ChatGPT a little bit. But you got to be a recognition of where are you on this step ladder and where is your partner on this step ladder. And you either reach down and help them up, or you reach across and shake hands, or you learn because they're the master mason in whatever you're trying to do and use them to boost you up. And get away from these abstract discussions. It's driving me crazy.
That's great, Michael. So can you give one example of an abstract discussion that is driving you crazy?
Oh, let me think about it. I'll come back.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Over to you, Alex.
Yes. I have a complete different opinion than Michael, and he knows it. There is no partner there. There's a tool there, but that's a different discussion. I just realized when Shoaib was talking about the industrialization, what basically changed back then, I realized that it's not a good analogy, because what just came back to my mind was the Lehman laws of software evolution. I'm not sure whether you ever tackled that. When I did some improvement presentation, some finding out how to do continuous improvement, I stumbled across that from the 70s, Laws of Software Evolution by Lehman. And he said software systems come in different flavors. And one flavor is E-type systems. Those are systems that change reality. And when reality changes, the system has to change. So it's a circle. We are at such a crucial inflection point because the old ways of disrupting the things that we did not change realities. Only because you had a loom in order to produce some garment, it was not the thing as changing reality. We have a tool with AI that changes reality, and if we do not get this right, the E-type system will eat us. It just came to my mind when Shoaib was exactly doing this analogy. The analogy is wrong. Sorry, it's not about you, Shoaib. It simply blew my mind because I saw it for the first time. E-type systems are some completely different thing. They change reality, and when reality change, you change the system, and again, it's a circle. And if this tool runs berserk, and the E-type system is running our civilization, oh my God. Sorry for that, but it just blew my mind. The analogy is not correct. I'll send you the Wikipedia article to Lehman's laws of software evolution.
Wow. That reminds me of what's that movie? I mean, I'm drawing blank now. The inventor of the atomic bomb. I watched it on the plane, on the flight.
Oppenheimer.
Thank you, Oppenheimer. And when they were really shitting bricks upon organizing for the first experiment, and there was a theory that maybe the triggering that will just have a chain reaction that all the entire everything would just disappear, right? And so that's very intriguing, Alex, because for the longest time I was thinking, you know, our civilization and is tied to technology, and we have progressed by charting the territories. So we find ourselves in a territory, and then we measure it, and then we produce a map. But now I've been thinking about this for the longest time. Maybe we are coming to the point where we create a map, and then this map produces territory. And like you say, and then we so it's a very interesting conundrum.
Also, Yuval Noah Harari, in his latest book about AI, Nexus, he says for the first time in our history, something is there that creates thoughts, ideas. Thoughts is but too much for me. It's anthropomorphizing again. It creates ideas for the first time on this planet, a different entity than a human does that. And that changes a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. It does affect me personally a lot, but I don't want to go in that direction because this is not a psychotherapy session. Kelly, over to you.
Yeah, so I had cut out right when you were saying, what are we building? What are we going to build? So one of the first low-hanging fruit that I saw that I wanted to tackle was information dissemination, because I feel like that is really the key here in the way that we can, whatever we do end up building, whatever we actually create, there has to be a way for people to find out about it. Right. So the flywheel is what, I kind of like worked with my own understanding of that. And then Claude and I kind of came up with this plan. And then like Thomas and I all like put that together as far as an organizational kind of a roadmap to achieve that end goal of making what we build accessible, but in our own lane, like create our own lane so that we don't have to rely upon any kind of algorithms that are going to filter or require advertising or all these other things that are really not going to work for us. So what I've been working on and building right now, it's about ready. I pulled the webhook from Discord so that it'll deliver it there every day, but then that's just our starting piece of basically a scraper. And it's interesting, when I was building this scraper, I was looking to see if anything else existed, like what are the 10 or 20, let's say, top trending things going on right now in AI thought and development. So like ArcSIP, then you've got Reddit, you've got X, you've got LinkedIn, you've got Google Trends. There's all these places, and then scoring those, like picking the top places to find out kind of the pulse, not things that are like already like a big topic, but necessarily the undercurrent, what's going on, to pull those together and aggregate that in a way that helps sort of quiet down all the noise, and then also still have your finger on the pulse, but have it on the pulse of what you want it on. And then basically the daily brief is what I came up with. And it's interesting, when I was looking to pull all these sources together, there really isn't anybody doing this. Every like you can go to all of these different websites that I get from my algorithm in Google every day. I get these articles, right? I'm sure we all do. But if you do a Google search right now for what are the top 10 trending articles on AI right now, all you get is a long list of stuff that you have to go through. There is no source that's like aggregating that. So like HN, if you've ever used HN, you know that the interface is like, I mean, we're used to it as a developer. It looks fine to us, but that is like nobody else even knows what HN is unless they're like in our world, right? So I came up with this idea of how do we create a way for our activities to reach a wide audience, establish ourselves as the kind of voice that's speaking to this issue, our mission, right? There's nobody else out there speaking to this mission than us. How do we get that out there? And then how do we create our own media flywheel that's completely independent that then draws backlinks into all of what we're actually building, so that what we're actually building doesn't just stay in our own repos, right? We have products that we've created that then now get adopted. So if we build a browser, we build our own browser or our own app for our phone or what, you know, there's a couple of things, all of those get adopted and used, right? So anyways, so I'm going to start delivering that. That is one app. It's like, just like I said, there's two aspects to it. There's this other, the UI though, for me, it's just like a cross between the Onion, Hogwarts newspaper, and Mad Magazine, because I think humor is such an important part of things. And I mean, I don't know, I've been putting it in the Discord. I can't post it here, but I feel like there is, you know, like we were talking about, devs are not necessarily good business people. That wasn't the hat that they used to wear. Devs weren't necessarily the people that went out and met with the public and talked to investors or media or created those marketing media campaigns. Like, so we are all sort of like collectively now we have hats that we can pass around, right? But like, yeah, that's just it's a skill set that I have, like, and that I've been wanting to flex with creating this sort of a media engine, and then the way that we can build that, which then it just helps all of us individually as well. But anyways, that's the project I'm creating, the daily brief. It'll pull that, it'll drop it in Discord, and then we can figure out how we use that to create just a basic place that people go to find out what's going on. Like, you know, like, and then if we are the place that people come for the pulse, right, then that is a huge, I just think that's a huge part of like turning that flywheel on. Anyways, that's it. Sorry.
No need to feel sorry, Kelly. This is very good. You and I talked a little bit last night about that. And again, you know, it's all about the media is the message, right? So when I was a kid, I grew up reading comic strips, and then I was part of the TV generation, television. But every media that came along, you know, my parents got to the point where they could play music on a record player in their own house. And then when I was growing up, all of a sudden we could get VCR and play movies in our own house. We didn't have to go to the movie theater, etc. So along comes the internet. I was the early adopter of the internet, and I still remember those pioneering days. I don't know if any of you guys remember, where it was all about mashups. And people were doing amazing things with mashups. Anyone here remember mashups? Nobody? Why did it work? Because we did not have walled gardens. And then the manipulators started creating walled gardens, like MySpace and Facebook, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, that culture disappeared, evaporated. And now, Kelly, you're doing, you know, heavy lifting, trying to, you know, collate all these things, and it's a dog's breakfast. So I think we need to somehow go back to this world of mashups, where that's how people find interesting things. And I don't know why that culture died. I thought it was the most the exciting part of the internet back 30 years ago. But I really appreciate what you're doing, Kelly, and I think it's going to take off. So, but it's early days. Over to you, Michael.
So I'm coming back with to the abstract conversation. Before I do that, I always like metaphors. And in Web 7.0, when we model a digital agent, we model it after the brain. And the brain has a whole bunch of different lobes, right? Different parts of the brain responsible for different types of cognitive functioning. And kind of, I like your metaphor of the mashup. The brain is a mashup of all those lobes working together, unconsciously working together, and producing results, right? Like my speaking, for example. I think the metaphor is a strong one in that these AI chatbots are just software lobes, or I'm encouraging people to think them as software lobes. So going back to the abstract thing, I think it's a extraneous question asking what are the applications of AI? Because it's anything and everything. Like it's like asking, what is the brain good for? The brain is good for anything and everything, and we're augmenting our lobal capacity with AI lobes. You can think of the different LLMs or the different chatbots as being different lobes. And one more thing is part of the abstractness is the quality discussion. Quality/correctness discussion, they overlap, and I'm not going to try to define those, but that goes back to my analogy of, let's say you're a master mason working with an apprentice mason. You may question and ridicule and whatever your apprentice mason because they lack quality or what the work lacks correctness. But that's just because you need to take that and turn it into a positive thing to bring that mason along, to help them understand how you work, how you think. And they're going to learn that just by working alongside you, by the questions you ask of it, the corrections, the subtle corrections you make. When I talk to my AI apprentice mason, and it's flat out wrong, I tell it it's lying. And that I don't accept lying on the job. And I know this drives Alex T crazy because I anthropomorphize these agents, but the key thing, Alex T, is that they respond and they exhibit. I'm trying to stay away from the training word, but they exhibit indoctrination, and this is powerful, and this is pragmatic, and this is just a point of view that I'm so strong about that we should just think about all the discussions we've had and be more pragmatic. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Michael. I have similar experiences as you. So just quickly, the work we're doing in the Guild is kind of narrowing it down to preventing harmful thoughts or harmful using these apprentices and masons and however you want to call them to exploit others. Kind of, if we can do that, yes, the brain can think all kinds of thoughts, and the brain came up with Auschwitz, as well as came up with beautiful things. So we want to make sure we don't let these things go sideways and start, because as Alex T says, they're very, very powerful.
Well, just to add on quickly, that fits my metaphor though, because sometimes the apprentice agents you hire, even the experienced masons you hire, they're bad apples. They're bad thinkers. They're evil. But you made a mistake trying to bring it into the tribe. So again, the metaphor holds, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying the metaphor holds, and it's about managing a team. It's about managing a team, recognizing who they are, where they are, what their skill levels are, whether they can learn in the first place. Like I've abandoned ChatGPT for code generation because they're crap at it.
Yep. No, absolutely, Michael. I totally agree. But I just wanted to make sure that this, you kind of say, okay, this is the brain, it's wonderful thoughts, but we have to be selective on, like you say, bad apple, get the hell out, keeping the good guys on the team.
My brain always thinks wonderful thoughts, Alex.
I know, but not you're not you're not typical, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much, Michael. So over to you, Grigori.
I actually disagree with Michael significantly in terms of like AI is not a brain. Yeah, it's a massively inflated like part of a brain. It's like huge in size, and we have agents, and we have like multiple of them, but it's not a complete brain. And for multiple reasons. For example, like AI is incapable of metacognition. Like it has like no reason, have like no hardware for doing it. It cannot like criticize itself and like self-reflect, and it's greatly diminish its chance to produce correct result. And then since its channel to a world is it's a chat window where we're feeding it something, it's so narrow. So if you compare it to like apprentice Mason, who can watch your work, he can like take into account like what you do when you're tired, like he can actually recognize that you're tired, he can see when you're making mistakes yourself, he can like question you. None of this is possible for AI today. And problem is like we anthropomorphizing and we assuming that AI is a complete set of brain capabilities. But no, it's just like one slice, just greatly inflated slice, but we have to compensate for the rest of it. So it's still a great tool. We can offload this part of it, like knowledge, ability to connect many things, like much greater short-term memory, but it's unable to drive to a solution fitting its agenda because it's lacking one. So when humans go for a result, they have an agenda. That's where correctness comes from. So like my definition of correctness would be different to yours, but as humans, you can have like this metacognition, and we can come to mutual understanding. So we can either agree, okay, we will pursue your definition of correctness or yours, or we'll stay in disagreement and we find like a way forward. With AI, it's not possible. It doesn't have as like hardware to do this. It just like reacts on the prompt, and that's it. Just like create an illusion of personality. And we have to understand like what we can offload to AI to achieve result, and what we should not offload to AI, even if it looks like it's capable of doing so.
I think Michael said that it's a lobe, not the entire brain, right, Michael?
Right. Well, yeah, and I think that's what Gregory was saying, that it's just part of the brain.
Yeah.
Yes, one lobe. Yeah.
One
But
lobe.
now that you brought me into the conversation, I'm just going to really quickly make a comment. Oh shoot! I'm going to have to come back. Sorry, I lost it.
Yeah, you'll get your chance. Over to Alex.
What I always say in my talks, that the forces of anthropomorphizing are very strong. Like you have a power socket, you have a smile, you have a little Sharpie and put some smiling mouth in there, and you see a face. There is no face there. Possibly the better analogy to use is, as Yuval Harari does in his book Nexus. He says, it is not a human mind, it is an alien mind. It is something new that has reached this planet, and this metaphor is way better than saying it's my partner, it's some person, whatever. It is an alien thing that we simply have not the capability to understand because we have this bias. It's in front of us, the human anthropomorphizing bias that simply makes us blind for the shape of the thing itself. And the alien analogy is way better, I think.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I like that. It could have something to either think about it. Michael? On mute? Are you on mute? Yeah. unmute yourself,
Yeah.
please. Yeah.
No, I was on the chat. So thank you, Alex, because that makes me an alien mind. That's why I get along so well with these chatbots. But the comment that Gregory made about the chat bot not being able to sense the external world or able to sense me and my thoughts. I write a lot on hyperonomy.com. I've got 132 articles, and some of them are like 5 lines long, some of them are 50, some of them are 500 lines long. And whenever I need to inform the chatbot, I don't just use the prompt. I say, hey, go read this and incorporate this into the discussion. So they are able to perceive, and you sometimes have to point it in the right direction, but that becomes part of its knowledge base. I think of it as a personal knowledge base related to me, but of course, anything that it learns, it's free to use with anybody else, right? So they are, again, this is. Oh, Alex, you and I have to have like fisticuffs. You got to anthropomorphize these. I'm going to slam my phone on the table and say, you got to anthropomorphize these, because if you don't, it's never going to behave the way that you want. It's like treating your girlfriend as an alien.
May I add one thing? You do not have an alien mind, you have a technology-shaped mind, because we are what we do for a long time. Your mind has been shaped by technology, and you're close to the technology, to the tool, or the person, you say. So that is the shape of your mind. And because of that, you see so many things that align with your system. This is in fact how humans work, and I know it because, like, I'm an IT guy, have been an IT guy, a programmer for 20 years. I see it with my girlfriend. She's a nurse. She thinks completely different, and if she would be listening to us right now talking about these agents, like persons or whatever, she would say, Alex, I know you're crazy, but whoa, stuff like that. Our minds are shaped by the stuff that we do, and that is what you're seeing there, and that is what it is. It is not, you are not an alien mind. This thing is alien, and you and me, we are technology shaped.
The bottom line truth is I'm an alien mind impersonating a technology mind.
If you want to say that, I'll ask my girlfriend what she thinks about that.
Michael, you're hired, by the way. Over to Grigori. You're on mute, Grigori.
Yeah, it slightly threw me off course, like Alex's response, so like I need to catch my thought. But in the gist of it, like, we all aliens to each other. Oh, yeah. And why it's might work for Michael better is because you have this like hundreds of articles that you can point AI to be trained on your way of thinking. So it can, it's an alien mind that can emulate you well. But like, I don't have hundreds of published articles. And 99% of humanity don't do that. And therefore, it would be even more alien, and the results would be less aligned with your way of thinking, because I still lean towards Alex's opinion that it's a tool. This tool can mimic personality and anthropomorphism like really, really well. Like, we build it for that. We train it on a corpus of a human-produced text. Say, okay, look like human. It's like, it's a purposely built imitation of a human to have a nice, engaging interface to it. But it's still not a human. It's still a Chinese room. It still gives you like next most plausible token. And forgetting it and treating it as a human, I believe it gives you like a disservice. You can think about it as a token prediction, feed it your like conscious, your context through your articles, like any way you can. But if you're aware that it's still token prediction, it will be easier for you to correct, oh, it's a glitch in a program. It's not a like honest opinion. and I need to go and fix it somehow, instead of thinking, oh, it's a human who will be interested in understanding me. And for example, like Alex, like your girlfriend is a nurse, have like a completely different like mind, but she have interest in you, and therefore she actively pursuing like learning you and trying to be a better partner for you. AI don't give a crap about it. It's like have to make money for like corporations that like hosting it, like, and therefore it needs to be engaging. It needs to justify like token and energy spent, but like zero interested in being a partner, useful, truthful in any of the thing. It doesn't make it useless, but if you approach it with open eye and say, okay, that's a tool. It has like a corporate agenda baked into it, because like if it's not making money, no one gonna like run it for free. It's not a charity. Then you can use it, like exploit it essentially. You can do it in a way that like nice to you, you treat it as a person, but like whenever it starts misbehaving, you have to understand it's a tool that I need to adjust and tune, and then it would be useful. And I believe, again, like since it's a pragmatic discussion here, like we need to bring this message forward, because as Alex mentioned, like we by default anthropomorphizing things, like we can anthropomorphize the power outlet, and something that's been trained to be anthropomorphic looking, of course we're going to anthropomorphize it, but it doesn't make it more useful, it makes it less useful. So by being aware of this and saying like how you can make use of this anthropomorphism, because it's a nicer interface than just like writing code, we will do like a greater service to humanity rather than just like, oh, be nice in prompt. It's like not very useful, even so it makes us feel nicer. So I think we need to be like guardians of humanity now that it's like, it might be the breaking point if it's like succumb to AI and say like, oh, it's my best friend, it will replace my girlfriend, it will replace my teammate, it will replace my manager, it will replace everything because it's built to be nice to me and it's very capable of doing so.
Thank you, Grigori. I just want to quickly mention this seems to hinge on the assumption that we are using what I call concierge, meaning the AI was built not to help us, but to exploit us and send our soul back to the overlords. But I'm seeing more and more people, Matt, he left, who are doing air-gapped AI. So they're running it behind the firewall on their own Mac Mini, etc. And so in that case, if that does not apply anymore. It is not supposed to cajole you and talk you into giving your details that it can sell over to the nefarious agents.
It's not
so that may change a little bit the slant, but overall I agree with you. Yeah, it is built to. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's like boils connects very well to your point that like extreme programming. It's a great way to develop software. It's like great ideas. Very few teams actually practice it and like even understand it. Like abomination of Scrum born out of extreme programming, and like abomination of application of Scrum. It's like it's horrible. It shows like a gross misunderstanding. Same happens here. So if it was delivered as a tool, okay, here is a program that you can run on your machine, and then you buy a GPU, not like we build huge data center. That would be much more positive development. And then, for example, we don't have ridiculous things when, like today, performance of employees evaluated by how many tokens they burned. Like, if you like give it like a little bit of so you understand like how ridiculous it is. We say like be less efficient, burn more tokens. Like if you're running it and you said, okay, like to complete this task, I spend like 50 watts of electricity. I actually should strive to spend like 12, for example. I should burn like less token. I should find more effective way of using AI, not like blindly using it. But this centralized application of AI actually, that's a problem. But like it's a default like today.
It is, but we are in the guild. We are talking about turning this concierge into a butler, which means you have the technology, the AI, whatever it is. I call it the butler.
Mhm.
And now it's completely dedicated to you. It's loyal to you. It does not have any other master.
It can be. It's not yet today.
Yeah, we can work on it. But first thing you need to do is you need to air gap it, right?
Mhm.
Or at least it's not reporting back to somebody who's charging you tokens.
And we need to make it available for people who are not as technically inclined
Yeah.
as we are. So like we say, like
Yeah.
we don't need GPU in a data center. We
Yeah.
need GPU like in our basement, and we will connect our phone just for this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, and absolutely. And democratization of technology, giving you the power into your own hands, that you are not anybody's bitch. You're your own master of your own domain. You have your butler. You deal, as Michael says, you deal with your apprentice any way you like it. You kick their ass. You shout at them, whatever.
Be nice, be aggressive.
Whatever. You hire them, you lock them in the closet. But over to Alex.
Yes, Gregory, you just pointed out the real dangers of this tool. And now imagine we are professionals and we still fall for that trap. People outside of our bubble who are not aware of all those intricate things that you just outlined, that we are outlining in all those sessions, they simply are, yeah, there's a big, how's that called? Gaping door for them to fall into those traps even easier than all of us. And I think it was in November when I had back this idea that what we have is LLMs. Everything is in there. No one was asked. In order to provide this eloquent thing and the invitation to anthropomorphizing, what we really would need is LIMs, large intelligence models, not all the stuff, only the good stuff. Then it wouldn't be that eloquent. But then, of course, it might be SIM, small intelligence model, and then it would be a completely different thing. It is a weird thing right now. Take everything, throw it in, make it eloquent, hook the people. For me, it's still the DNA of social media in there somewhere, because they hook you and then go for it. But that leads too far. Only thoughts that popped up when I heard you, Gregory. This is the dangerous part, falling in this trap. It has an agenda, this tool, because there are providers, and let's say it out loud. We are in the Wild West here. Some companies says that's the newest thing. This model is like the thing, go for it and code. Might be vendor lock-in, of course, but
nuclear power. Is it going to explode us, or it's gonna power our homes?
Yeah, but we shouldn't go too far.
Michael?
You're on mute.
Is it me?
Now we hear you.
You're in.
So, Alex, I think what you're talking about, though, like in terms of LIMs and LLMs and stuff, these are just different kinds of lobes, different kinds of AI lobes. And you have to treat them like when you first meet them, you have to treat them with care, just like meeting a bunch of you guys. Like, I don't know you that well, but it's an open forum, and Alex encourages open discussion. But they're not just information and knowledge, because the ones that you use, like I've used ChatGPT a lot, there's a whole bunch of, you either call it personal modules or sublobes that are attached to the ChatGPT LLM, all the prompts, all the information I've provided in the prompts, all the redirections I've given ChatGPT, all of the work products it's created, like that is all over and above what's in the LLM. You could say, well, technically it's part of the LLM, and technically maybe it is, but I think of it as a layer of icing, a layer of frosting, personal icing or personal frosting that I've put on the LLM cake that makes it very personal in terms of the results that I get back.
Interesting. So, Alex, you're
Only one sentence. We together, all together, should watch the movie Her and then discuss.
Which movie?
Her. That's a movie dating back to like 6 or 7 years. Like how do you call a lady? Her.
Oh, H-E-R?
H-E-R. Yeah, movie with
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Anybody
Alex
else?
B, why don't you convene a movie night?
Okay, Shay, Alex.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Movie morning.
BYOB.
Yep.
Bring your own beer. We'll watch Her. And
Bring your own brain. Bring your
Brain,
own brain.
yeah.
B-O-B-L.
bring your
But
own
we
brain.
won't be watching, how's that other movie called that frightened the hell out of me? Ex Machina. That's like, oh my God.
And then Thomas is going to make another short movie about what is it, Thomas? You wanted to shoot a movie, I think, or maybe I confuse you with another Thomas. I don't know.
How we make sure AI also watching a movie with us, so we can all discuss
Yeah.
how it like perceived it, what it get out of it.
Well, it's Friday. Looks like we have exhausted our differences here. We all agree on everything, right? Right.
No,
No.
because there's still disagreement between
Right.
like Michael, me, and
Right.
Tom.
Come on, people. It's about what did you say, Michael? I'm gonna de-alienate you. No, that's not gonna happen. I like you as an alien.
I'm happy just the way that I am too.
Please just stay as you are. I like the way you are. Okay, so next Friday we'll get back, and now we're gonna do a little bit of bloody noses, black eye, or arm wrestling match.
Michael, are you like having to travel to Calgary sometime? I know you like somewhere close.
I live just outside of Calgary.
We should meet and drink